So then, it is the big one this weekend. Manchester City host Arsenal in what could potentially be the title-defining game. Who has got the balls between the two sides to go and win this game and show the rest of the Premier League why they should be champions? Will it be the big blue sharks who, let's face it, have definitely had much higher Premier League success in recent history compared to Arsenal? And Arsenal, on the other hand, going into this one in pretty poor form with lots and lots of doubt on whether they can actually pick up a result from media and Arsenal and general fans, just football fans in general. And rightly so. The whole narrative of the boring football, the whole, bottlers narrative as well. However, we're here today to throw that out the window. If I was Arsenal manager, what team would I go for? What team would I select? What team do I think can cause Manchester City the most damage? Well, let's go through that right now. Let me get my selection up on the screen right now for you all to see. Here it is here. I would go for David Raya in goal. Fullbacks of Hincapié and Christian Mosquera. And then the regular two centre-backs, the big bad bullies, in William Saliba and Magalhaes. We've then got the midfield three of Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi, and Eberechi Eze, with a front line of Martinelli, Kai Havertz, over Gyökeres, and the young teenage sensation, Max Dalman. A first Premier League start in an environment like this. Some would say risky, but I would say, well, to be fair, it is quite risky. Yeah, no, fair enough. However, with the injuries that we've got, Saka, unavailable, Madueke, potentially, he's a major doubt going into the game. For me, Arteta wouldn't do that. I think he'd go for Trossard and Martinelli on the wings. However, I want to see Dalman because every time he's come off the bench and made a cameo, he's looked like our brightest attacker going forward. So for me, that's what I'd do. And I also think that since Mosquera's come into the team at right back, he's looked much, much better than Ben White. Who, for me, Ben White, on his day, is a top player, but I don't think you can rely on him consistently anymore for regular minutes. I don't think his legs have got it in the tank anymore for a major club going for titles. Unlike, a few years ago when Timber was obviously out for such a long time. And I always have respect for Ben, the way he put his body on the line. But yeah, let me run through my decisions player by player. David Raya, I don't think needs any explanation. The number one goalkeeper at Arsenal Football Club. We are super lucky that we employ one of the best goalkeepers in world football because that, for me, David Raya, although he's had a couple of shaky weeks in recent games, I still think that he is a top goalkeeper. We then have, at left back, Piero Hincapié, who, for me, I think he's just won Player of the Month as well. He's won Player of the Month fairly recently for Arsenal, not for the Premier League, because, that's not just voted by Arsenal fans. It seems like external Premier League fans who are not Arsenal fans, they just don't give these players a chance. But either way, that's going off topic. We then have the two centre-backs, Magalhaes and Saliba. Are they the best centre-back partnership in world football? That's up for debate. But the fact they're even up for debate shows just how good they are. We then have Mosquera at right back, who, as I say, has looked better than Ben White in recent weeks. We've seen him get in forward positions like here, going up the touchline. We've also seen him tuck into a back three like here, which he's obviously capable of doing, which then, Hincapié can then go forward. So yeah, he is definitely my preferred choice at right back. In the midfield now, Martin Zubimendi, I want him sitting deep. Why can't we have him as that lone sort of pivot player in that number 6 position? Because one of his best attributes is, picking up the ball in this position here, whether that be from David Raya, who likes playing his risky passes, or Saliba, or Gabriel, or even the right back. Zubimendi can turn. If I change colour here, I can show you. Let's go red. He can then turn. Let's say he's facing that direction. He can then turn and ping balls up the pitch. Maybe not that far. Maybe not that far. My camera's probably in the way anyway. But yeah, you know what I mean. You can see what I'm trying to get across. Zubimendi, let him be the dictator of play. Let him control the tempo. That whole sort of message in his transfer video. Control tempo. Let him control that. We then have Eze, who, look, normally Declan would sit further back. That's the wrong colour. That's the wrong colour. We've got Declan, who is very much more capable of sitting further back. And Eze can take up these positions here. Eze, that looks... Hold on. No, hold on. I'm going to get age restricted otherwise. I don't know why I did that. You've got Eze, who will take up these positions here. More central areas, let him roam around. But I feel as if he is offering much more on this sort of right channel here. If I sort of divide the pitch here into three, you got the middle third, you got this third here, and then this third here. You do feel as if Eze would be much more sort of effective in this zone here with Hincapié and Martinelli, cutting in on that right foot. We've seen him pick the ball up in these positions here, Eze, and, he can just drive in. We saw it against Tottenham in the North London derby, in fact. I think he dummied the ball, nutmegged the defender. I don't know who it was, Jed Spence Romero. And this is where I can change colour, actually. This is where I can change colour. He will just drive with the ball. And he just took a shot. And I think he might have won a corner out of it. So, yeah, for me, Eze, I want him more focused in this half of the pitch here. In fact, let me highlight it. This part of the pitch, I want Eze to be focusing on that side. We then have on the other side, if I could just get rid of all of this, Declan Rice. I want to see this guy a little bit more further forward. I want to see him not so much next to Zubimendi here, but I want to see him much more further forward here, getting up the pitch. If Mascara wants to tuck into a back three here because he doesn't feel much more comfortable going forward, why can't Declan Rice then provide those overlapping runs? We've seen the kind of crosses that he can put into the box. Again, I think my face cam's in the way. Let me move it. Is it much better there? Yeah, why not? We'll keep it there. But yeah, as I was saying, why can't we have Declan Rice on these overlapping runs here supporting Max Dowman, and then Declan Rice getting the ball into the middle, and similar to how Ben White used to find Havertz when Ben White was in their team. Why can't we see that with Declan Rice supporting on the right hand side? And I say that because last time we were at the Etihad, Declan Rice was playing in this more right 8 role as opposed to the left 8 role, which we saw him play the rest of the season. Obviously, Trossard then got sent off in that game, so he got moved back. However, Declan Rice in this right 8 role is something that I want to see. We then have Max Dowman, who, as we know, is a teenage superstar. We've seen in games against Southampton where he impressed, Everton off the bench. You know, this guy's a really impressive football player. He can go inside that way. He can go outside. You know, if you really want him to, he can, find Eze here. He's got the quality to spot that pass and find it. Whereas, Saka is becoming a little bit more predictable, I think. You've got Madueke, who, although he'll run past a player, he'll run it out of play. Whereas I think Max Dowman, whenever he's come off the bench in these cameos or when he's started these games, he's looked bright because he's much more impactful on these games than these other players. So I want to see that from the start. I want to see Max Dowman play because with his age comes, I think, a little bit more freedom. I think as a 16-year-old, you're not quite mature yet, which I think we've seen from Max Dowman. He very much does like picking the ball up, taking some touches and getting past players, which I think, I'm not criticising that. I like that. I like that from players. However, there are probably a couple of opportunities where he could pass the ball a little bit more, which I think Arsenal fans, I think you can agree with me on. However, I'm not going to judge him on that because he's 16. He's 16. We're still 10 years away from this guy's prime, from this guy's peak. Unless he gets treated like Saka, of course, which, that might not be the case. Because I think Saka's, he's hit peak years. He's gone down in a little bit. Hopefully he can go back up again. So, yeah. And let's talk about Martinelli next. We've spoken about Max. We've spoken about everyone else. Let's talk about Martinelli. Let's highlight Martinelli. Why have I picked Martinelli over Leandro Trossard? Well, mostly because this game will take a lot of defending, I think. And Martinelli, out of Madueke, Trossard, and Martinelli, out of those 3 players, I think Martinelli is the best when it comes to work rate, defensively as well. I think he's got the most to offer in his game when it comes to defending. We saw the other day against Sporting during midweek. There was a chance from a set piece, I think. Declan Rice with those short set pieces. Please don't do them on Sunday. I can't take any more of them. Where he passed it short to Eze. Eze loses the ball. And Martinelli's sprinting back to go and recover the ball. And he does it well. So his work ethic and his work rate to go and win the ball back, I like very much. And I think that's going to be something key on Sunday. So that is why I would start Martinelli. I think I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Honestly, this is like the 6th attempt of filming this video. It's getting far too late to record a video, but you know what? Who cares? And then that just leaves Kai Havertz. Why is that not working? Kai Havertz over Viktor Gyökeres. A little bit controversial. Let's highlight Havertz here. Now, why do I think I would start Kai Havertz? For me, he holds the ball up better than Viktor Gyökeres. So, when David Raya does these long passes, let's go find a different colour. Pink. Let's go pink. That'll do. Pink. When David Raya goes forward with these long passes, I think Gyökeres struggles against these defenders that he comes up against with the long passes. I think Havertz is better in the air as well. So if Declan Rice was to come and make these overlapping runs, put it into the box, he can put it along the floor. Kai Havertz can finish it off. He can head the ball as well because of that height. I think he's better in the air than Gyökeres. So I think that it did take a little while for me to make my decision on Havertz or Gyökeres, because at the end of the day, Gyökeres is your big number 9. You buy him for games like this, for moments like this. But for me, I just think Kai Havertz, in this scenario, in this setting, has that little bit more to offer. So I would go for Kai Havertz up front. Obviously, Gyökeres can come off the bench. I do think Havertz, with his current fitness levels, maybe on 60 minutes, you look to take him off and bring on Gyökeres. And I do think against a slightly more fatigued defence in Manchester City after an hour of football, if, this was the front three, it's not too direct. You've got Max Dowman who will go forward. And yeah, as you can see here, I'm drawing lines. We've got like combinations, haven't we? God, this takes me back to 22-23 when we just had those combinations of passes, which look, we've clearly got now, but we just don't see it often enough, going forward when it comes to taking risks. Oh, this is refreshing. I could do this all day. Right, let me go for a couple of things that I don't want to see. What I do not want to see is stupid passes into Zubimendi from the goalkeeper, which put us under immense pressure. Sometimes, if let's say Manchester City are, let me make Manchester City here. City player, City player, City player, City player. Let's just say they're blocking off this midfield. This is another reason as to why I think Kai Havertz might just be the option over Gyökeres here. David Raya with his long passing, we can now overcome that problem because we'll have Kai Havertz there. Let me just draw a couple of other City players. So how many is that? 4. We'll go Donnarumma, a back 4. We'll go that. We can now go long to Havertz and probably win more balls than we would with Gyökeres up front. So we can overcome that problem of that 4-man press, which Arsenal have come up against more recently. Well, look, we'd do this. Maybe we'd go to the right back, who would go to Saliba, who would go to Magalhaes. Maybe Hincapié would come across, and then we go back to the goalkeeper. Then Saliba. Look, it's very much this. The goalkeeper receiving a lot of passes. Bournemouth did it as well. And we mostly played our football in this half of the pitch, which we don't want to do. So going long to these other players, I do think is something that we need to see more of. And also just risk-taking. I think risk-taking, as a side, we don't take a lot of risks in this half of the pitch here. Whereas in this half of the pitch, we're happy to do it, as I say. Zubimendi, risky passes like that, who will then go wide to the right back, who will then go back to the goalkeeper. But when we've got the ball in this area of the pitch here, it's very much Eze, who, as I say, is the only real player who will pick the ball up and drive with it and shoot. So I do want to see much more of that. And that's why I bring Dowman into the side, because as I say, he can go into the box. He can go outside as well. Go down the touchline to the byline. He can then send crosses into the box. That is a terrible arrow, but you know what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, for me, that is the team I would go for. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. My name has been Tom. I'm the 14th cannon. What team would you go with on Sunday? If you've made it this far into the video, let me know in the comments down below. I've been going on for a little while now, so I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.